This episode of Super Whovian is dedicated to William Russell. Super Whovian is also available on Spotify. You are listening to a Whovian Comedy podcast. Coming up on this episode of Super Whovian, from Paul McGann to Sophie Aldred, Mason Milne has come face to face interviewing some of the very best faces of the Whoniverse on his very own podcast. But now it's Mason's turn to be the special guest, as we discuss the brand new series, our theories on who Susan Twist could be, and his secrets to making the very best Doctor Who podcast. My name is Liam, and you're listening to Super Whovian. Mason, thank you so much for coming on to Super Whovian. Welcome to the show. It is a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Liam, for inviting me. I'm really excited.
Thank you for saying yes. I basically have been on your podcast, so I thought I have to have you on mine. It's only fair. So with your podcast, have you been on a guest on other people's podcasts?
Yes, I have. I have many times.
Okay.
About different things. Some about Doctor Who,
Yeah.
some about other things as well. Because of course my podcast it is about Doctor Who, but it's about other things as well.
Yeah.
So I've been on. It's cool because sometimes you'll find that I have someone who has their own podcast, and then like you, I'll go on theirs, and yeah. But some people's podcasts work differently. Sometimes I've been on a podcast before that they just do their own episodes, like two friends kind of thing, just doing themselves, and they don't really have guests. But yeah, I'm happy to come on yours.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, like I said, thanks for joining me for this episode. And like I said, I came on your podcast, which I had such a great time. We had some really awesome Doctor Who discussions on your podcast. So before we jump into the whole Doctor Who world of it, I just want to focus on your podcast a little bit. So, like for your podcast, you like as I said, I've been a guest on, but you've had some like really good guests on your podcast. Like you've had, if people don't know, if you're listening and you don't know Mason's podcast, I'll put the link in the description. But your podcast, you've had like Paul McGann, the Eighth Doctor himself, Sophie Aldred, Ace, which is one of my absolute favorite companions. Like I love listening to your podcast and those episodes especially. And it was like amazing to hear them like so relaxed with you, and you were so good with them as well. So like having those big guests on your podcast, like how did you get them on? Yeah.
Sophie Aldred was a bit different because I paid for her.
Okay.
It's the only other guest I paid for. Because I thought it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was a reasonable price as well. But with Paul McGann, no, that was a surprise. I didn't think I would get that. Because it was at a convention last year, probably around this time. Probably around this time last year, really. Because it was a convention where you had the 5 Doctors. So you had David Bradley, Paul McGann, Peter Davison, and Colin Baker. You had all them there. They're all really lovely. But I thought, hang on a minute. I've heard really good things about Paul McGann, that everyone queues up for him all the time. And I'm thinking to myself, why are they queuing up for him when he's only in one episode? And the Power of the Doctor. So I was really confused by that, and I thought, everyone's saying he's really nice. So I got up to him. I prepared myself. I said, I'm not going to ask any of the other doctors because I'm just going to ask him, because I don't want to ask everyone else, because of course they're all really good mates. And if Paul McGann says, oh, well, I've been asked as well. But yeah, it was a really interesting conversation. Like he emailed me basically as soon as I got in the car to leave. I had an email from him saying let's arrange it. Then we arranged it for the following, I think Wednesday we did. And it's really funny how it all worked out, because he couldn't hear me for the first 30 minutes, so he had to wake his son up, and he had to do it all for him. But it was a very long conversation. I didn't expect we'd talk for as long as we did, but I think it's the most popular episode I've ever
And it's
had
yeah, and
on my
it's so
podcast.
good as well. Like it's such a good episode. If anyone listening hasn't listened to this episode with Mason and Paul McGann, it's so interesting to see Paul open up about like his time as the doctor and things like that. Like it's so cool. So like, was it an easy yes for him? Like, did he? You asked him and he immediately was like, yeah, like why not?
Yeah, I think I shared a video a while back about me asking him,
Yeah,
and he was like, yeah. He said, you asked me, and I think I said it on the episode. I said you didn't have to towards the end. If anyone wants to skip towards the end, he says, I you asked me, Mason, and I said I had to say yes because you don't if you don't ask, you don't get.
yeah, yeah,
So it was very, and then we met. I went to Telford Comic Con later on in the year, and then he thought the episode was out by now, but it was under wraps for so many months because I wanted it to go out for the 60th anniversary.
yeah. That's fair.
Um, and I didn't do it on the same date as the special purely because everyone will be watching the special. So I
Yeah,
based it. I did it on the 23rd. For luckily, there was no episode on the 23rd of November. So yeah, and then I made him do a video kind of promoting it,
yeah,
and that was really cool. And it was funny because I did get after having him on my podcast, we talked about I need to get the Eighth Doctor costume, so I ended up getting the Eighth Doctor costume, and then we had a photo together at that Comic Con where we both were wearing basically the same outfit.
yeah,
Um, so it was really nice, and that's one of many Doctor Who guests I've had. I've had, like as you mentioned, Sophie Aldred, who was lovely.
yeah.
Um, we actually talked about Tales of the TARDIS, which is actually
Mm,
quite relevant right now. um, so we talked about Tales of the TARDIS, and I gave her some advice on maybe how it could be improved. And I think what I said was because I think she said she was going to go and tell Russell T Davis the feedback. Um, I said it's good. Well, it's good for me because I never watched any of the episodes before, so it was the first time for me. But for people that haven't watched all the episodes, it's almost like that's not enough content for them
yeah,
because that you have a few minutes at the start, a few minutes at the end. Um, so I would say that's how you would improve it to maybe have longer conversations in the Tales of the TARDIS because I don't think it's long enough. But yeah, we talked about that. I also had my first ever guest I had on was actually Dorian a few years ago,
okay, cool.
um,
Yeah,
and a Dorian, and then I had Mr. Crane from the Cyberman two-parter
yeah.
um, in with David Tennant, and I think he appeared in the Colin Baker episode as well. Debbie Chasden, who played one of the people on the Voyage of the Damned,
Okay,
um, and she's really good. So her and Sophie Aldred, I'm actually going to meet her in I think next weekend actually, because
okay,
we're
cool.
going.
Yeah,
They go to a Comic Con. So I said to the pair of them,
yeah,
one day we'll meet. So it's actually really cool, and yeah, and that's how I get them on. Really, I go to the conventions and I ask them.
yeah.
Um,
Fair enough.
except
Yeah,
for
like good on you.
Sophie,
Yeah,
but I ask and I do a letter to them and see if
yeah,
they answer. And some don't. I did it to David Tennant. He's a very busy man. I did it
yeah,
to
yeah,
Gemma Redgrave, also very busy. So it's dependent if they answer or not.
yeah,
But
definitely.
Paul McGann was definitely the best one.
Yeah, for sure. And like these guest stars that you have, because like Mason mentioned, his podcast isn't just Doctor Who. You've had like a lot of other like famous people, like people that people listening will recognize. So with all the guests on your podcast, specifically because we're in like doing a Doctor Who podcast today, like with Paul McGann and Sophie Aldred, are you nervous interviewing them or like how do you prepare for it? Like I would be so nervous. Like I'd be just so intimidated and so much of a fangirl just talking to them on Zoom. Like
Yeah.
how do you prepare for that?
Um, I get a good sleep. I make sure I'm
Yeah,
up because it depends on what time, but um, I take a picture of them in the waiting room before we've gone in. Um, even though I don't have to do that, but I just do it for proof, I guess.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's really cool, and I you just don't want anything to go wrong or internets and
yeah,
stuff because
yeah,
sometimes that happens, and um, But yeah, I remember I did actually have one on, who was it? Oh yeah, I had someone who played the silence in Doctor Who.
Okay.
And it cut out. It kept cutting out, and it was annoying because they were also in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about that, and he had to go, so we had to not finish. But that was a good episode. And also had um in Blink, the guy that is a partner with Sally.
Yes, I did see that. Not
Larry, I think is
Larry. That's it. Yes.
yeah, Larry Nightingale, yeah. So
Yes, I have seen that one as well. Yeah.
I nearly had K9 on, like the actor who plays K9.
Okay. Yeah.
But with the difficulties of actually getting the
Yeah.
apps and
Yeah.
stuff,
Definitely.
because he is quite old, so that's understandable. But he said, "If I ever see him
Yeah.
again, he'll
So
do
like,
it in person or something."
so you're not nervous like interviewing them? Like Paul McGann, obviously you went up and asked him. So I guess you probably weren't that nervous because he showed so much like eagerness to be part of it. But you're not nervous interviewing these Doctor Who stars?
No, I
No?
think
Oh,
it's
good.
I'm okay with interviewing them,
Yeah.
because it's just like a normal conversation. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're no different to like interviewing you or
Yeah.
interviewing
Yeah.
someone else. All it is just talking about something we're passionate about,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
and sometimes we don't always. I'll have them on. It gives a good opportunity, like with Paul McGann. If you listen to the episode, anyone, you'll hear that I talk about maybe stuff that I have in my life, and it kind of raised awareness, which Paul McGann didn't actually know about. So,
Yeah.
um, at the time, I might have wore a mask when I saw him, and then I'm explaining on the podcast why I did that. So it is very good way to raise awareness for other things other than Doctor Who, but it's lovely talking about it with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So let's jump into the Doctor Who discussions now. So how long have you been a Doctor Who fan for?
Since 2005, the revival.
Okay, that's good. So like, how did you originally get into the show? Like, what's your story with Doctor Who?
But one day, I think my brother, who's a little bit older than me, said, "You should watch Doctor Who." I was like, "Okay, what's that then? Is it about a doctor?" I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff, like watching doctor programs and like obviously me thinking there's a picture, it's like a doctor, doctor and nurses or something. But and then I watched it and I watched Rose. Rose was the first episode I watched.
Okay.
Um, and I watched it and I really enjoyed it. Then I just continued and I thought maybe I'll just watch the series. That's it. But and David Tennant come along and then it got better. It got better and better each new Doctor, and I'm still watching it now. So, yeah, I didn't think it would impact from my life as much as it has,
Yeah.
but it's it's something I really enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. So then, you basically started with the revival and watched onwards. So, do you have a favorite Doctor, favorite companion, favorite story, favorite monster?
My favorite Doctor, well, my top three probably David Tennant.
Yeah.
Um, I would say Paul McGann in the sense I do like his Doctor. If he got more, I think he'll probably be my favorite, but I like him. He's in my top, and Matt Smith as well. I love Matt Smith. I wasn't as big a fan of. I felt once Peter Capaldi was the Doctor, it was different because it took me longer to get him as a Doctor than it did maybe Matt Smith
Yeah.
and David Tennant and Chris Eccleston. Um, and it did with Jodie a little bit as well. So I did like them. I did like their portrayals, but I didn't. It took me longer. And I feel like if a Doctor gets me sooner, I like him more. But like with Shooty, I know we've only seen him a few times, but as soon as he popped up in the giggle, I just knew I was gonna love him.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's really important from that first instant. And I think what really, for me, with Peter Capaldi, that was in bed. I know David Tennant was too, but we for that first instant of David Tennant regenerating, who just had so much energy, and I think with a Doctor had lots of energy, I tend to like them more
Yeah.
at the start. But with Peter Capaldi, he didn't, and
Yeah.
and I felt his regeneration was quite controversial in the sense that he didn't sound like himself when he regenerated from Matt Smith to Peter Capaldi. He just
Yeah.
felt it was really weird what he was saying when he regenerated. And he kind of felt like he was in a different accent that he ends up being as the Doctor. So, but I did like his last series, Peter
Yeah.
Capaldi's. Not because he was leaving, but I just felt it was his best
Yeah.
as the Doctor. Um, but yeah, so my favourites are David Tennant. David Tennant would be my favourite Doctor, but slowly coming after that would be Matt Smith. And I don't know where Shooter will end up in that ranking, but he's pretty high at the moment, and I haven't really enjoyed him so far.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned about struggling to kind of fit with the new doctors. So was there any point, especially with the female doctor and how people have sort of how the Doctor Who universe has been divided over the last few years? Was there any point with any of the recent doctors or over the last, say, 10 years that you've kind of slowly, was there any point that you were like, maybe this is not for me? Like, is there any point that you almost gave up on Doctor Who?
I don't think I would ever give up.
Yeah.
Um, I, when I saw the announcement of the female Doctor, I thought it's a bit different. We've never had that before.
Yeah.
Um, I probably wasn't as keen because it's like James Bond, isn't it?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Like there's always a man, and I like. I don't know. I felt it. It was a good decision because it's different, but I just felt we shouldn't have found out until they should have kept it really quiet until we saw it on screen.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like that should happen for every Doctor, but now it just doesn't because of spoilers and people finding out stuff. But um, I just feel like that would have been better because everyone moaned. I know everyone does that for every single Doctor, but that Doctor in particular, there was more of that because it was a girl and it's a woman.
Mm.
And but here's the thing: I don't know the 13th Doctor's Doctor defining moment, and I know each Doctor has one, don't they? They have that moment you say that's
Yeah.
the Doctor for me, and I don't know if I had one with Jodie because I just felt like when she was trying to do a speech or be really serious, it didn't feel like she was to me enough. I just feel like she could have done it a bit more.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like with Shooty, that was last episode really. Um, and I think he'd done it in Boom as well. So it's hard. I think it's hard, but it does work. It does because it worked with Missy as the master. So
Yeah.
it does work. But I just feel like it takes a bit of time um to do it, and I don't want to feel like they just do it just because they haven't done it before. That obviously Jodie's a really good actor. I really enjoyed her in the 13th Doctor in the end. Um, but I just felt the writing wasn't as good
Yeah. Yeah.
um, in different episodes. But as probably the second season 12 and series 13 were her better ones. I didn't think series 11 was that good, but
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
and yeah, I think our last episode, probably the Power of the Doctor, was our best episode.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's definitely. I think Power of the Doctor is probably one or two for me with Jodie. So then, like as you mentioned, like the writing wasn't great, and I agree. Like the writing was good in some moments, but it was very average. So, is there a writer that you would love to see write for the 13th Doctor, like Stephen Moffat or Russell T Davies? Like, would you love to see? What writer would you love to see tackle the 13th Doctor?
I would like to see. I don't know. When Russell T Davies eventually leaves, I don't want Stephen Moffat. I just want a completely new person.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't know. I think if Stephen Moffat did write though for Jodie, I think it would have been better.
yeah.
I just feel like Chris Chibnall worked better when he's not the showrunner.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. Yeah, I definitely
because
agree.
he's done episodes where I think he's done the Silurian two part of Matt Smith. That was good.
Mm. Yeah, that's
Um,
one of my favorites. I love that
yeah,
story. Yeah,
I really enjoyed that one. He did. He did. I think he did 42. With David Tennant. That wasn't the best story, but it was actually it was all right. That one. But yeah. Neil Gaiman maybe. Maybe
oh,
he could
yeah,
write.
that's good. I didn't even think of Neil Gaiman. Yeah,
Neil
totally good.
Gaiman. He's a good writer, and I think
Yeah.
he's written for Doctor Who before, I think, but
Yeah,
I'd like to see him as showrunner.
I think he's only written two stories. I think, yeah, The Doctor's Wife and Nightmare in Silver, but I think that's all he's written. Pretty
Yeah,
sure.
I
Anyone
think
listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's only written two. I think so.
maybe. But I'd like to see her. Well, no, it's not her, is it? It's a he. I think I'd like to see he write maybe for Jodie. I think he would have been
Yeah,
good.
I think he would have been really good writing for the third installment. That would have been good, especially with the dynamic of like the fam. I think Neil Gaiman would have done really well with. That's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and he's good, and I think yeah, I think there were some other writers I think in the Phantom Doctor era, but I just didn't work as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we are recording this episode the day before, 2 days before Rogue comes out, the next episode of season one. So the big thing on the internet at the moment, and people listening, this will come out on Monday, a few days after Rogue, and people listening can either laugh in our face and say we were totally wrong, or go, okay, maybe the time travelers they guessed it right. But online, everyone's speculating about who Rogue is. I think I've seen people say he's like Captain Jack. He's just a new character. But have you like got any theories on who you think Jonathan Groff's character is? Do you reckon he's like a brand new character, or he's like? I also saw today on Twitter as well. I also saw X, it's called now. I saw someone mentioned that perhaps he's a different incarnation of the fugitive Doctor, and I was like, okay, I liked that theory. Like that was quite good. But yeah, but what do you think? Like, do you have any theories? Honestly, I don't know.
I'm very interested because Ross Davis posted the other day a picture of him, and
Yeah.
I think was it a blue heart, then a love heart,
Yes, I
and
did
then
see
a
that.
plus, then like the TARDIS sign. So the TARDIS sign to me says Time Lord.
Yep.
Um, I know in the clip we saw yesterday that they released a clip. He said he wasn't a lord.
Yeah.
Um, but he didn't say he wasn't a Time Lord. Um, maybe in his time, if he is a doctor, they don't refer themselves as lords.
Yeah.
Maybe they refer themselves as rogues or bounty hunters. Um, but it's going to be interesting because obviously he's been sent there to do something.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if he's been sent to find the doctor or he's been sent to find the monsters of the episode who look like bird people. Um, but I don't know. I think like that clip is like the doctor is flirting with him.
I did get
Um,
that sense as well. And also in the clip, like he says, like the doctor says his name, and Rogue seems quite confused by just the doctor. So when I read this theory today about perhaps he's the fugitive doctor, I was like, I like this theory, but with the clip that we got, I'm like, it doesn't align. Like I'm like, I don't know.
they're very different. Like he tells them to go away as well. So
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
and he said there's a fun, but at the moment, I I don't think it's Captain Jack.
No, no.
I mean, yeah, he might look like him, but it looks like he has a ship as well. I think he has his own ship, and I think he scans him. The Rogue scans the Doctor
Yeah.
to find out who he is. So I hope he's a recurring character though.
Yeah, yeah. We've also got that little snippet in the season one trailer where the Doctor's surrounded by holograms of his own face. Will we see the 10th Doctor? So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
do you have any theories of that? Like why maybe he's just going through the Doctor's past, or like what do you reckon?
Maybe he knows something,
Yeah,
or maybe he's just scanning him
yeah,
to make sure. Or maybe he said he's a doctor as well, and he's scanning him to do it. But that would make sense when he's saying he's rogue. So obviously, in the description, it said rogue changes the doctor's life. So
yes, that's a good point.
there's
Yeah,
something happening with this rogue, and I don't know if you remember long ago in the actual trailer of Doctor Who, the doctor shouts, "You're a cad," um, and I presume that's to rogue. Um, and that means that when you're like you're horrible to a woman, doesn't it? So maybe he does something. Um, but and there's a wedding, isn't there? So I wonder who's getting married.
yeah, yeah. there's like a lot of theories floating around about this episode. And like I said, people listening will either go, no, they're totally wrong when they listen to this on Monday. Because like I said, we are recording this a few days before Rogue. But I think, and before we started recording, you mentioned this as well, that this is probably the most anticipated, for me, it's the most anticipated story of this season. Like, a lot of the reviews have started rolling in over the last few days, and they're saying it's really, really, like, it's a great story. And for me, based on the promo pictures and the trailers, like, it looks like the budget of this episode itself looks incredible. And then we've got the monsters as well. I say monsters, but then like just bird people, I don't know. But they like the special effects of these creatures, like the makeup, the costumes, everything looks like incredible. So yeah, like I'm very excited for this story.
I am, and I think it's good. I hope it's like a utopia of this series where it kind of interlines and for the finale.
Yeah. Well, I did read as well that like apparently the ending of this story is going to lead into what's it called, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, the first part of the finale. So I'm like, okay, so I'm very interested to see that as well and how that'll like sort of morph into that story. But yeah, like as I said, this is probably the most like I've been excited for every episode this season, but I feel like this one is the episode that I'm like itching to watch this. Like I'm so excited to see this story because it's been hyped up a lot as well. So I'm expecting. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much, but I'm expecting this story to be really good.
Yeah. It looks it. I like the whole concept of it.
Yeah,
Um, it looks a really good one. It reminds me of my favorite story, To Get on the Fireplace, a little bit.
yeah,
Um, but I it's in the same era, isn't it? Like the Regency era. So I'm very excited for this one. And I like the costume the Doctor's wearing as well.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So speaking of the Doctor's costume, I I've seen a lot of people online sort of not criticizing, but more just kind of expressing their opinions that they wish the Doctor had one singular costume throughout the series. I love the fact that he's like has a costume when he's like traveling through history, like in the Devil's Court and like this story, Rogue. But like, what's your thoughts on a costume? Because I've seen a lot of people saying it's making it very hard to cosplay as this Doctor as well.
Yeah, it is. It is hard. Like you have all the different ones.
Yeah,
Like I think in the Church of Ruby Road alone, you had about 5 or 6 costumes
yeah,
in that one episode. Um, it is sometimes a little bit disappointing, especially the one he wore on Dot and Bubble because that was
yes,
his reveal one, and in Church of Ruby Road that was in for a split second, and then he's got it right at the end basically. And it is a bit disappointing that he didn't wear that on like the bubble. He just
yeah,
wore his orange top. Um, so yeah, I think I would like to say that one of them is more one he'll wear more often, but I just feel like he's going to be changing all the time
yeah,
for every episode.
yeah.
Um,
Well, we've seen that with the filming pictures for season 2 as well. Like that historical story with the new companion, he's in a different outfit. And we also saw the filming pictures, I think it was of the finale with him in a bowler hat. So it looks like he's going to get a new outfit for every story next season as well.
yeah. I don't know what he's going to be wearing for the Christmas special this year, but
Yeah,
um,
that's a good point. Yeah,
like it's annoying in a way because when the Church of Ruby Road, he's wearing that costume all episode that he was wearing, and
yeah,
then he goes and he's almost like he's just got on the TARDIS and then he's changed.
yeah,
Um, for what he's going to be wearing in Space Babies.
yeah,
Um, so I like it. I like it because you can go to say a convention and you can have half a dozen, 15 doctors
yeah.
there.
That's a good point. Yeah,
So there's good things and bad things about it,
yeah,
but
definitely.
I guess the bad things are that you could be spending a lot of money if you want to get all of them.
Yeah,
Um, like I've only got I made my own version, the one he's wearing in the finale. He's only like a black leather jacket and a white top. The one he wears Church of Ruby Road, I did myself a kilt, and like the main one he was wearing on that Ruby Road, and then obviously the one in Dot and Bubble he's wearing. So but my favourite is probably the one he wore in Dot and Bubble. I do like that one.
yeah. Like as you mentioned that outfit as well, and that was the reveal outfit. And immediately as I saw that reveal outfit, I fell in love with it. Like the coat and the matching pants, like it looks so good. And orange is not normally my color, but I was like, that works so well on Shooty of all people, and then with the brown suit. So I also wish that that was kind of that we saw more of that in Dot and Bubble, and that outfit itself was more like a scene throughout the series. I would have preferred that, and then for the historical stories, he changes because we have seen that a few times with the Doctor. Like we've seen the 12th Doctor in thin ice dress up for the occasion. The 11th Doctor did it probably the most, I'd say. For the 10th Doctor, not that I can remember, he didn't really dress for historical stories. I mean, we saw him in the tuxedo every now and then for like the Cybermen stories specifically, but like, not that I can remember. I don't think we saw the 10th Doctor kind of dress up when he went to the past. Not that I can remember.
It was strange because he had this big wardrobe, didn't he? Sam
Yeah,
Doctor.
we saw it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But like, yeah, as I said, mentioned like that orange shirt with the brown jacket, I would have loved to have seen, which I hopefully we do see it a bit more. Hopefully it comes back like in the next 3 episodes or like next season, because I think it looks so good as well on Shooty. Like that, as I said, that reveal picture, I just fell in love with that outfit. Like, yeah, it was just it suits him so well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think we will see it again. Probably
Yeah, I
not.
don't think so. I hope, but yeah,
No, I don't think we'll see that the reveal outfit. And I think it was a reveal outfit because they were filming Dot and Bubble at the time. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that was probably why. Um, but yeah, I think you need an outfit to remember them by,
yeah, exactly.
and like you know what all the other Doctors are. Like you've got the ninth with his leather jacket, the 10th. Like the 10th, 11th do have two separate costumes that you can choose from. So if you have two set ones, maybe that the Doctor wears, but I think it is a bit different. No Doctor's done this really before, where you're just changing all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So then, speaking of all of his outfits, what do you think? Like you just mentioned that you've put together a few of his outfits from some things like that you've got. So like, what do you think is his most iconic? What would you like? When someone says the 15th Doctor, what outfit would come into your head immediately?
Either the one he wore in Dot and Bubble, or
Yeah.
the one the one he started wearing in Church of Ruby Road
Yes. Yeah.
with the leather jacket. Them two for me.
Yeah.
And the others are just. I mean, I don't really understand why he wore a kilt in the Church of Ruby Road. Really, it didn't make no sense.
No.
Maybe it was a bit of a personal thing because he's Scottish, but um, maybe that's it. But it didn't make much sense why he wore that.
No. Wasn't
Uh,
really any significance to the story of the kilt. No.
no, no. It was a bit weird, but like the other stories worked, like what he's wearing in Rogue and what he's wearing in Dot and Bubble. No, um, Devil's Cord. What he wore in them two worked.
Yeah.
Um, but the one he wore in 73 Yards is probably my least favorite of his costumes.
Yeah. Like I like the coat, the yellowish coat that he had, but then like the beanie and things, I was kind of like, that's not very. I mean, it looks great on Shooty. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's not very doctorish. Like, it just didn't feel. It was just odd. I guess he had less than 5 minutes screen time in the whole story, but I don't know. It was just a strange outfit to dress the Doctor in.
It's a bit of a waste of money if he was only going to be on it for a few
Yeah,
minutes.
yes, literally, yeah, yeah. But no, I agree. I definitely agree with the orange suit from the brown suit, sorry, from Dot and Bubble and like Church of Ruby Road. That's definitely what comes to my head, like outfit wise for him. Yeah, for sure.
I thought it was going to be his main one because he got revealed in it, but
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed that it's not his main outfit, and I still am. Like I said, like I love the idea of the Doctor sort of dressing for the occasion when they're going back in time, but I feel like he needs one sort of outfit that people can just like. We had Tom Baker in his scarf, and like the Sixth Doctor in the ridiculously colored coat, and like it just he needs that outfit. I think that people will just know is Doctor Who.
yeah, because he has too many and he's going to continue,
Yeah, exactly.
isn't it?
So back to Rogue. also on the cast list for Rogue was Susan Twist as I think it said like a woman in the painting or a portrait or something. So
Yeah.
that's obviously we're going to get a cameo, not maybe just a cameo of just a photo of her in this episode, or like a painting of her in the background or something, or maybe the Doctor, because in Dot and Bubble the Doctor and Ruby kind of recognized her and they were like, oh, hang on, hold up, we've sort of seen her before. Maybe they'll recognize the painting, something like that. But for Susan Twist, we've got basically just Rogue until we start to hopefully get a few answers about who she is and things like that. But like over the last 5 episodes, have you sort of started thinking about or theorizing more about who she could be and what her significance is, and how she's following the Doctor and Ruby? Have you got any theories on that?
She's either the one who waits,
Yeah,
but I just think that's too obvious for her to be the one who waits. But it might be, considering they teased her in Devil's Cord as well, the one who waits.
yeah, yeah,
So it looks like she is waiting for the finale. She's appearing every episode since since World War Under. Um, so 'cause apparently, like in the finale, I think they released the Legend of Ruby Sunday
mm, yeah,
description, and
yeah.
in
That came
it
out
it
today.
says,
Yeah,
yeah, they announced that her name is going to be Susan Triad. Um, and then that triad technology is going to unleash the greatest evil of all.
yeah,
So I imagine she's a villain.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and I think she's the anagram of TARDIS. So she is the TARDIS. Um, she can influence the TARDIS. So,
Yeah,
and I imagine that's where the memory TARDIS.
yeah.
Something happens with that. Um,
I know one of the theories I read today was that she is the TARDIS, but she's actually a living form of the memory TARDIS specifically, and that she's triggering. I'm trying to remember specifically what the theory was, but she's triggering Ruby's memories, which is causing the snow. Which I was like, oh, that is really good. And then obviously we got that little scene of Shooty in the memory TARDIS, sort of screaming out to space. And then in the theory I read today was that he gets trapped inside the memory TARDIS, and that'll be the cliffhanger between part 1 and part 2 of the finale. And I was like, oh, that's real. Like that's a really plausible. Like in my mind, that's a very plausible theory. The whole idea of she's the reason why it's snowing around Ruby. Like I think that was a pretty good theory that I read.
Something's going to happen to Ruby, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Um, Something's happening to Ruby because a lot with Mel and the Doctor are together a lot,
Yeah,
and something's going on. I mean, the Empire of Death just screams at me Daleks,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I
And
think it's not.
we discussed
Yeah,
this on your podcast as well. Yeah,
yeah. But now I just don't think it's. I think when she unleashes the great evil of all, and they mention a time window as well.
yep,
Um, so I think we're gonna find out who Ruby's mother is
yep.
and who Ruby is in the Legend of Ruby Sunday. I think. I don't think we'll have to wait that long. We'll find out in that episode, and
So
then
do you think that'll be like the cliffhanger, maybe, of like we find out who she is, and then that's like the cliffhanger until the
well,
following week?
you might find out like the hooded figure
Yep,
might come out, and then it's almost like those episodes where you've got two things happening. So
yep,
it's not like you have the Doctor trapped in that TARDIS with Mel, and then you'll have Ruby wherever she is. I don't know if a time window just screams trickster to me, but
yes, yeah, definitely.
um because I mentioned a time window, and we haven't had that since I think Sarah Jane Adventures, really. Or the Angels. I think we had a sort of time window with the Angels.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, but I don't know. But I just feel like the Empire of Death. You could not just Susan Triad. It's going to be the main concept of it, but she's going to be the core. So loads of different probably enemies perhaps will be in this episode at
Mm,
the end.
yeah. Okay. That's what I mean. Like, as I said, we kind of theorized about the title, The Empire of Death, on your podcast. And like I said, anyone who wants to listen to it, I'll put the link to the episode specifically in the description as well. It'll be on the description of the YouTube video of this video, or on Spotify. Um, but like we all spoke a little bit about The Empire of Death as a title, and I agree, it definitely screams like Daleks. Like to me, that just seems like such a Dalek story title. But like also with the synopsis that was released today, it says like unleashes the ultimate evil or something like something along those lines. And again, in my mind, that screams Daleks. But I just can't see the Daleks showing up. So I'm like, what else could it, there's nothing else I could think of it being. Although there is the theory around that Sutek from Pyramids of Mars from the Fourth Doctor story is going to come back as well. Have you heard that theory? Like, what do you
Yeah,
think of that one?
yeah. I've heard of that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
because like it's a very interesting theory, and I feel like it would make more sense for legions to
yeah,
be in this
yeah,
different league scene or make new ones up.
yeah,
Um, so I don't know. I don't think it's going to be interesting if Susan's character is one of the legions, or maybe is Ruby's mum.
yeah. The
Um,
Legions of the Toy Maker. Yeah,
um, but the Russell said the other week on an Unleashed episode that the Toymaker, you'll find out what the Toymaker is not the one in charge here. He's very low down on the legions.
yeah,
At the moment, he might seem that way, but as time goes on, you'll find out who's really in charge.
yeah.
Um, so I don't think it could be Sute. I think there's going to be someone in charge. I think Susan Twist is a very obvious character to say she's in charge here because we've seen her in every episode. I think there's going to be a hidden villain that's going to be in that finale.
Well, definitely, like even in the Star Beast as well, the Meep was like mentioned something about the boss. So
Yeah,
definitely, I definitely agree that there's someone else like higher up in charge. And I agree. I feel like it's too obvious that Susan Twist is going to be the one who's in charge of, the Meep, the toy maker. I feel like that's too obvious. Like that. If anything, I think I'd be a little bit disappointed if she is, like just because it seems too obvious. But like as in terms of like Sutek, I've read the theories and things, but I'm like, I just can't wrap my head around that either. I'd love for it to be true because he was such a cool villain in the in Pyramids of Mars. But like I just can't wrap my head around that. And like for me, we've had 5 episodes, but I'm still like I have no clue who she is. Like I haven't properly developed my own theory. Like I'm kind of just I'm loving reading everyone else's bits and pieces, and I'm like, oh, that's a good theory. Hang on, no, that one's even better. No, that one's pretty good as well. So like, yeah, I'm completely lost. I think like I'm just so excited to find out, but I'm just like I said, I'm lost for who she could be.
so many different questions
Oh
to
yeah, yeah,
find
yeah,
out.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like nuts. And as I said, like she's, you know, ah, we've got that. We've got Susan Twist, who like the one who waits, and like the boss, as the Meek mentioned. Like there's so much of like
And
there's multiple different things we've got to find out who Ruby's mum is. Like why is it snowing? Like that's driving me nuts not knowing that answer as well. Like yeah,
I think, the maestro mentioned when she was looking into Ruby's soul, which does really sound like the Trix's theme.
yeah,
Sorry, Jane Adventures, but um, she mentioned, or the maestro mentioned that who is the oldest one? He can't be there at
yeah,
Ruby's birth, so I don't know who that is. So that's another one. Who's probably going to be different to Ruby's mother, but um, it's going to be interesting because I just feel like that title, the Legend of Ruby Sunday, it's on this kind of news. When they announce the titles, it's on this kind of news board, not giving
yeah,
much too
yeah,
much away. And I don't know, it just feels to me maybe she could be created. Ruby could be a creation, or a fiction,
yeah,
and she only exists because of the Doctor, maybe something like that, maybe.
yeah.
Um,
Okay, yeah, I like that.
and that maybe that's why the memory TARDIS is there to
Yeah,
maybe help find out who Ruby is, or if Susan Triad is in charge of this memory TARDIS. Why? Why does the memory TARDIS even exist?
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, I know that Russell said that it's very much the finale in this series is very much going to tie in with Tales of the TARDIS as well, which is why everyone's saying the only plausible explanation for that is the memory TARDIS, which I definitely agree. I think that's going to come into it because we saw it in the trailer as well. And then so the trailer got released with the memory TARDIS in the background, and then the trailer got re-released like a few hours later, and the memory TARDIS had been edited out. So I feel like that's something we were not supposed to see.
No, and apparently, I saw this last night that there's going to be a new Tales of the TARDIS episode a day before the finale.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Because, like I said,
Yeah.
there's just so many like questions that is just drive me nuts, and there's so many questions that I feel like I'm forgetting something, and then it's going to come up in the episode, and I'm like, oh, hang on, yeah, no, I forgot about that one too. Like, there's just so many little like story arcs going on. I love it, but it's also like my mind is like frying. I just want to know the answers.
There's too many questions.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And speaking of Sutek and like the idea of that monster returning, are there any monsters that you've seen throughout Doctor Who that haven't appeared again, whether that's in classic Doctor Who or even in New Who, that you would love to see come back, like in the future?
I'd like to see the Toymaker again. I know
Yeah.
we just saw him, but I would like to see him again.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
think we got enough of him in the 60th. I would have loved to
um,
have seen more.
Jonathan Groff, I know we haven't seen him yet, but I just feel like I want to see him again
Yeah.
after. Um, I feel like we haven't seen the Daleks enough. Just I'm joking. Like, I think the Daleks do need a break along with the
Yeah.
Cyberman, but and the Master. So um, it'd be nice if they brought back the Silurians.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't seen them in a long while. The Silence as well.
Oh
I'd
yeah.
like
Yeah.
them. The Silence.
See, I think the Master does need a break, but I feel like that's the best reason to then bring in the Rani, especially because the Shooty mentioned the Rani in the first episode as well. Like, I would love to see the Rani come back, like in New Who, and sort of have her introduced to the new audience. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, and I think if the Master does come back though, he won't be in charge because he's like the Tormek had his tooth, and whoever's in charge now will have his. Someone picked up his tooth, didn't they? So
Yeah,
I don't know who that is. So
I
he
even
will be
forgot about that
con.
question as well. Who picked up the
Yeah,
Tormentor's tooth? Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
good point.
I think he will be prisoner, and I like when the Master ain't in charge. We've always used to seeing him in charge,
Yeah,
but I want him to be like these other people are more powerful than him
yeah,
now. So he's a bit like he's powerless, really.
yeah,
Um, because the Toymaker basically play games with him, didn't he? And I would like to see
yeah,
that at some point. I hope they show that, or if they ever do it, like what happened between the Master and the Toymaker. Um, but speaking of Susan, I would like to see Susan um back. You know, like First Doctor's companion.
yeah,
Um, I think that would be really nice. It's the name Susan's is heavily mentioned all the time, and it would just
yeah.
make sense,
Well,
especially after.
we've had a few name drops, especially in the Devil's Court of the Doctor, kind of
Mm.
speaking about it as well. So yeah, I think that now's the perfect time to bring it back.
Yeah, and especially after like William Russell passed away
Yeah,
um the other day, so you just don't never know.
yeah,
There's not many that don't First Doctor companions left.
yeah,
And Susan, but I think she went to the 60th premiere, so it would make sense for her to come back.
yeah.
Because the Doctor doesn't even know if she's alive or not, so it would be a nice surprise. If she
Yeah.
appeared in the memory TARDIS, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. A little cameo from Carol Ann Ford, and she just appears just for a moment. That would be really good. I didn't think of that. Yeah, that would be awesome. Love that.
Yeah, and I don't know if other Doctors are going to appear in the memory TARDIS because that's what the memory TARDIS does. So,
Yeah,
but as we saw in the trailer, he's screaming
yeah,
um,
yeah,
with the doors open. So I don't know if he's found out something or that he can't get the TARDIS back down to
yeah,
Earth.
yeah.
Um,
Or like he's like helpless, and like the Doctor's watching, say like the Earth burning or the Earth in trouble or something, and there's just nothing he can do. Maybe he's trapped inside there or something. Yeah, definitely.
there's something to do. I think in the Legend of Ruby Sunday description, it also mentioned other planets as well. So
Okay.
um, that's interesting. I'm very looking forward to these last 3 episodes because I feel like they have the potential to be the best 3 of the
Yeah,
series.
definitely.
Um, at the moment, with the episodes we've seen so far, I like them, but they're not as good as I thought they were gonna be.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sort of in the same boat. Yeah, definitely. I feel like these last three could have the potential to be a huge finale. Give us a lot of really good answers. Give us some good like scenes, action wise, comedy wise, and yeah, I feel like this could be great. It's been a very short season. It's gone so quickly, but I'm like, as you said, like these 3 episodes could tie it up very nicely. Yeah,
Yeah, if these 3 episodes live up to the expectations,
yeah,
it will be good. Um, but I felt it didn't start off too well, the series, but I think every episode's gone on, it's got better and better.
yeah, definitely.
Um, I think 73 yards, in my opinion, is the best so far. That and Boom, them two are the best, I
Yeah,
think,
they're
at the
definitely my
moment.
top two. Yeah. So you mentioned before as well about William Russell, who we lost this week, well, as this episode comes out last week. So, like,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite Ian Chesterton moment? Do you have a favorite story with Ian Chesterton? Like, I can remember waking up the other day, seeing this news, and I was just heartbroken because Ian, Barbara, and Susan were like, they're one of my favorite TARDIS teams for sure.
I think I have to say the first episode,
Yeah,
um, probably, because the first episode, I think he said that line, didn't he? How's this a TARDIS? It's just a telephone box. I did like in the Power of the Doctor, but I just wish he
yeah,
had more to say.
yeah, definitely. I loved in Classic Who seeing from the first episode and seeing sort of Ian's evolution, if that might be the best word to describe it. Yeah, seeing how brave he became, especially within the second episode with the Daleks, him sort of charging at the Daleks and trying to protect the Doctor and Susan. It was great seeing his character development in classic Doctor Who, and it was written really well. Especially because it was so early on in Doctor Who's history.
Definitely,
Yeah.
it's very there's so many different really good stories with him in it, and it's a shame he couldn't reach 100.
Yeah, yeah, he was literally just a few months off, but yeah,
Yeah,
it was sad hearing the news for sure. Definitely, I think Ian would definitely be in my top 10 companions. Ian and Barbara together.
yeah. It's sad. It's sad when someone from Doctor Who
Yeah,
leaves.
yeah, definitely. So let's wrap up the episode with my favorite segment. I did give you a heads up about this segment as well earlier in the week when we discussed booking a time to record this episode. So basically, this segment, if you are new to this podcast or you didn't listen to episode 1, is called What If? And I penned the question to the guest, what if you were the showrunner of Doctor Who? Who would you cast as your doctor, your companion, and your master? Who are your choices?
I would cast as the Doctor Lydia West.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Okay.
because I feel like she would be a good Doctor.
Yeah.
Um, the Master I would pick would be Michael Sheen,
Yes. Yeah.
and the companion I would pick would be who would I pick as the companion? I would pick the companion as who would I pick? Um, I would pick. I'm trying to think of loads of names now, and I can't think. Um, Bella Ramsey.
Oh, yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
I'd pick her as a companion,
Okay.
and
Very good choices.
and if I was trying to, I would pick to go on a planet called Neptune. Well, it's a planet anyway, but on this particular planet, it's a war's going on,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
like the Doctor can only defeat them by with their eyes closed. They can't defeat these monsters on the planet. Um, and yeah, and then obviously the Master's there. But at this point in time, the master's actually the doctor's friend.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and they would defeat him basically by their thoughts.
Yeah.
Um,
That's cool. I like that idea. That's a
and,
good concept.
um, but yeah, I think them three would be good. Probably unlikely. Um, especially Bella Ramsey probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other two are probably
I
more
do
like.
like that. I like the pairing of the Doctor and the Master that like for your choices. Like I feel like that would be such an interesting chemistry seeing the Doctor young and then the Master a lot older. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, and it's normally like lately they just look very similar, don't they? I
Yeah.
just but yeah, I think that would be good. I think Lydia West would be a really good Doctor. I think Bella Ramsey, it's basically companion anyway, really.
Yeah.
She got that vibe, and Michael Sheen, he could either play the Doctor or the Master, really, but
Yeah.
I feel like he'll be a good Master.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Mason, thank you so much for coming on the show. Online, you are making TikTok videos and you've got your own Doctor Who Instagram page. So where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me online on TikTok, Doctor Who underscore cosplay underscore the life, basically an underscore after each word, and then on Instagram is Doctor Who is the life. And I also have my podcast account is at Autistic Advocate for Crohn's. So yeah, that's where you can find me. But yeah, thank you, Liam, for inviting me on your show.
No, thank you for coming on the show. And all of Mason's links will be down in the description as well. So you guys can go and check it out. And I'll put our actual episode of your podcast along with your podcast in the description so people can go and check it out and hear us discuss more Doctor Who. But again, thank you so much for coming on the show. And if you guys listening, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and show the show some love. Mason, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Liam.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Whovian Commonly YouTube channel. Cool.